Sup y'all, it's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to talk to you guys about a pretty interesting change that Blizzard put out regarding Artifact Knowledge. It's gotten a lot of people divided. There are good arguments, I would say, on both sides, so I wanted to make a video, share my 2 cents, and explain pretty much where I'm at. So the change that happened is that the Artifact Knowledge cap is going from 50 all the way down to 40. So this is a huge nerf on the top end of how high the artifact knowledge is going to scale. And just to explain, I have the numbers here and I'll read them out to you guys. So artifact knowledge 25, which is before they revamped the system for 7.2, was 25,000% modifier. Artifact knowledge 37 which is I think that's where we're at right now, is 1.8 million% modifier. Artifact knowledge 40 is 4 million% modifier, and artifact knowledge 50 is 55 million% modifier, and there's another 200,000 on top of that. So it's a huge increase. So you're basically changing it to where the top end is going from 55 million all the way down to 4 million. Now, for a lot of people, they might kind of assume that, oh, this is just like making things take longer and it's just nerfing fun, and you'd kind of assume that I thought this was a bad idea, but the truth is that I don't, because the difference between maxing out Concordance with AK-40 and AK-50 is the difference between jumping over the Empire State Building or the Eiffel Tower. Doesn't fucking matter which one's taller because you ain't gonna do it either way. And that's just the truth. Like, the maximum for the last point in Concordance is 200 trillion. Like, I don't care if you have AK-50, you need like AK, probably, I'm trying to actually think about this, you probably need AK like 80 or AK-90 or maybe AK-100 with the scaling modifier in order to keep up with that. So you're not even going to get close regardless. Now, the only thing this really does do is it lowers the soft cap on Concordance by a very, very substantial amount. To where maybe you would have been able to get up to like maybe 35 if you were like a complete no-lifer, and maybe like 30, maybe 40. I don't really know when it would really take into effect. And now you're probably only going to be able to get to about maybe like 15 to 20. That's what I would say. So this is obviously a pretty big nerf to that, but also at the same time, none of the even content is coming out, so nobody's at AK-50. Nobody was leveling up Concordance that high. Nobody even got to experience that. So removing it before it even happens is the best solution. Now, the reason that they're doing this is a very, very smart one, and it's also a problem that I've identified, which is whenever you realize that all you have to do is wait, you get the 40 is on, June 1st, and 50 is on July 21st. You wait less than 2 months, and what you do is literally 10 times more effective. Like, I mean, what idiot is going to be farming stuff out at 40? So it's effectively playing the waiting game, World of Waiting. And at a certain point, that's just stupid. And people are just sitting around waiting for their AK to scale up because they feel like anything that they do right now is just going to be a complete waste of time, because anybody that takes it seriously knows these numbers and they know how high it's going to scale, and they know that anything that they're doing right now is a complete waste of time compared to how effective and efficient it's going to be later on. So I can see why they're making this change, and I think it's definitely a good change. I don't really like the idea of Concordance in general. I feel like it's the perfect solution for a problem that they've created, but I feel like the inherent thing is the problem itself. I feel like the AK and AP system is inherently flawed in certain ways. Everything is going to be. I feel like the game was fine without it, and making an endless grind, I feel like Blizzard also focuses very much on trying to keep players together. It's like you all get on a theme park ride and you're on a roller coaster and everybody's on the same little cart, and they don't want to have anybody too far ahead or too far behind. And I feel like that's a good idea maybe from theory, but the problem is that a lot of people want to be able to get ahead, or if they don't, if they're really behind, moving forward and getting ahead again is actually a sense of reward. And whenever you, I guess, like shorten that gap between the two things, making the transition from one to another isn't really as rewarding at all. So I feel like it also creates a certain level of apathy, and I've talked about this before, and I don't really think that the AK-50 to AK-40 change is going to affect that at all. Now, one thing that people have brought into consideration is that this also makes it very hard to get concordance on alts, and it reinforces the problem that I think a lot of people have had with Legion, which is that getting alts and leveling up alts and maintaining alts is substantially harder in Legion than it has been in basically any other expansion before. Now, previously, you didn't have Titan Forging and you didn't have other types of gear RNG, so you did have that going for you now. And, if you get like a really, really good piece of gear that's like mythic level, obviously that's going to help you out a lot for gearing. But at the same time, you've got to deal with AP, AK, getting the right legendaries on your alts, and all three of those things are a huge time sink. And for a person that wants to maintain a number of different alts and raid casually, it's pretty much not going to happen unless they're going to either play those alts all the time and devote all their time to maintaining those characters, or basically just be subpar on all of them. Now, I'm not saying that people that have all their characters deserve to have their alt characters as the same level as their main characters, but I do feel like the time has come for them to make Artifact Knowledge account wide. Hopefully they do that whenever somebody reaches 40. They can get AK-40 for all of their other ranks. But previously you were able to buy an AK-45 tome whenever you got AK-50 for your alts, I believe. So this is going to make it a lot harder for alts to get concordance later on in the game, but I don't know really how things are going to evolve from here. I believe that probably in Argus they're going to introduce a number of other AP traits, AK levels, and also AP traits to keep people farming the same things, which is probably, I think, another underlying problem and concern that a lot of people have with this change, because it kind of brings into question and brings into people's mind all of the changes that basically they've made. So one thing that Legion really does very badly, I think, is that they just continue re-incentivizing the same content. So as an example, the item level cap for a number of mythic dungeons has gone up over time in the expansion. So that means that you effectively have to farm Court of Stars. As an example, there's an auto attack ring, ring in Court of Stars that gives you 10% extra damage to your auto attacks, and you effectively have to farm out that ring every single time that there's any sort of scaling thing. So every single time that they do any sort of like a gear upgrade, or they added the Paragon boxes to where you have to go back and do the same world quest again, it's like you finally finish content and then they make it to where you have to do all the same content over and over again. Whereas previously, whenever you'd finish content, you'd wait for new content to come out, then you'd do the new content. Now you basically, all the content's on the same level, and whenever they introduce new content, they just recycle all of the old content along with the new content. So you just end up having to do collecting nuts for the Val-Shara druids every few months or so whenever they increase the cap. And for some people, I would think that's okay. I don't mind world quests as much, but one thing that is kind of annoying is knowing that your gear has no real it's not really stable. Everything that you're going to be getting is changing very, very quickly, and you don't really have that permanence of gear. You don't really have something you can say, okay, I finally beat this place, I can go on to the next thing. And putting all the content on a flat level like they have now has caused a lot of problems, and I think it's caused a lot of apathy. And as I've said before, I think it's really important for people to be able to finish something, and I think that's the big difference between WoW and a lot of the other like free-to-play, like the Asian market MMOs, is that many of those games have these endless grinds that effectively make you at some point ask yourself, what the fuck am I doing with my time? And WoW always had very tangible and very reachable goals. In Legion, they've kind of revamped that, and they've moved much more towards those free-to-play and those Asian market MMOs. I would say probably to their loss. I think this does not keep people playing, especially with how much effort they put into Legion, and then them doing the earnings report and saying it's only performing slightly better than Warlords of Draenor. And also, if you look at any of the other external analytics, it kind of supports that claim as well. So I feel like this is definitely a good change. It's Blizzard has realized that people feel like they're wasting their time, and they're scaling it back so people won't feel like they're wasting their time farming now. I think that's a good change. I think it's a good idea. But what this doesn't solve is the underlying problems that Legion has had right from the beginning, which is putting all the content on a flat level. You never really increase. You never do anything that matters. There's no permanence. There's no significance. And it just creates a culture of apathy. And I think that's the underlying problem that Blizzard has to deal with Legion. There's plenty of ways that they can solve that. I have ideas. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know who's right. But what I can see right now is that's a big problem, and I hope they can fix it probably realistically in the next expansion. But I feel like this is probably better than the AK-50 system because of the, as I said before, kind of like the emergent gameplay that's going to come out of people just feeling like they're better off just waiting. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. Go ahead and let me know what you think. I'd be very curious. I know that there's a lot of people that are very on one side of the fence or another with this. I feel like there are obviously positives and negatives, but the I guess like the perception with what they're doing and changing the perception, I think is going to be a positive thing. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I got. So thank you very much for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe.